Lee Van Cleef, born Clarence Leroy Van Cleef Jr. on January 9, 1925, in Somerville, New Jersey, grew up during the hardships of the Great Depression. His early experiences shaped a character defined by independence, resilience, and determination. From a young age, Van Cleef exhibited a quiet strength and self-discipline that would carry him through both personal and professional challenges. He faced life's difficulties with a sense of responsibility, learning lessons in perseverance that would later translate seamlessly into his portrayals of stoic and morally complex characters on screen. Military service and its influence during World War II. Van Cleef served in the United States Navy, an experience that profoundly influenced his sense of duty, discipline, and resilience. Military life demanded physical and mental endurance, shaping him into a man who respected structure and responsibility. The lessons learned in service translated into his work ethic as an actor, where patience, precision, and commitment were paramount. These formative years provided a foundation for his later screen presence, where characters often reflected inner strength, determination, and quiet authority. His military background became an invisible but integral part of his cinematic identity. Early career in Hollywood. After the war, Van Cleef pursued acting with determination, studying theater and refining his craft. His film debut came in High Noon, 1952, a landmark Western where his small but memorable role captured attention. Hollywood quickly noticed his presence, though his unconventional looks initially limited him to supporting roles, often as outlaws or henchmen. Despite the constraints, Van Cleef demonstrated a remarkable ability to convey menace and intelligence with minimal dialogue. His early career was defined by persistence and professionalism, proving he could command the screen through posture, expression, and timing rather than theatrics, struggles, and setbacks. The 1950s brought steady work, yet Van Cleef's journey was marked by challenges. A severe car accident in 1958 temporarily halted his career momentum, raising doubts about his future in Hollywood. Despite these obstacles, he persevered, treating each setback as an opportunity for growth. The period tested his resilience, but Van Cleef's dedication to his craft never wavered. Through minor roles, he gained experience, discipline, and a deeper understanding of his own strengths. These trials, though frustrating, laid the groundwork for the transformative opportunities that would eventually define his career as an international star. Italian westerns and career transformation. As opportunities in American cinema waned, Van Cleef turned to Europe, where the Italian film industry was redefining the Western genre. Collaborating with director Sergio Leone proved pivotal. Cast as Colonel Douglas Mortimer in For a Few Dollars More, 1965, Van Cleef emerged as a leading man. His portrayal of Mortimer was a revelation, calm, calculating, and deeply human beneath a steely exterior. This role allowed him to explore complex emotions and moral ambiguity, moving beyond the one-dimensional villains of his early career. Audiences responded to his authenticity, and international acclaim solidified his status as a prominent figure in cinema, signature roles, and style. Following his breakthrough, Van Cleef appeared in films such as The Good, The Bad, and the Ugly, 1966, Day of Anger, 1967, and The Big Gun Down, 1966. He specialized in characters operating in morally gray areas, navigating the fine line between justice and revenge. His performances were marked by restraint, depth, and an authenticity that made his roles compelling and believable. Van Cleef's strength lay in subtlety. He conveyed authority, intelligence, and menace without excessive dramatics. Audiences admired the realism he brought to each part, ensuring that even his villains were layered, memorable, and deeply human. Professionalism and integrity. Van Cleef's career was distinguished not only by his talent, but also by his integrity. Off-screen, he maintained a quiet, disciplined demeanor and approached acting as a serious craft, rather than a vehicle for fame. Colleagues described him as courteous, reliable, and deeply committed to his work. He remembered the struggles of his early years and carried himself with humility, regardless of international recognition. This professionalism extended to every project he undertook, enhancing the quality of his performances. His reputation for discipline, consistency, and respect for the craft made him a valued collaborator in both European and American cinema. Return to American productions. In later years, Van Cleef returned to American productions, bringing his commanding presence to films such as Escape from New York, 1981, where he played Police Commissioner Bob Hawke. Once again, his nuanced portrayal elevated the material, lending credibility and gravitas to the role. Even as he aged and faced health challenges, Van Cleef remained a steady presence on screen. He selectively chose roles that complemented his experience and commanding persona, proving that his appeal was timeless. His continued dedication highlighted a rare combination of endurance, artistry, and professionalism that few actors could match at any stage of their careers. Personal life and family. Van Cleef's personal life reflected devotion, transition, and resilience. In 1943, during World War II, he married Patty Ruth Kay, with whom he had 3 children. These years coincided with his service in the Navy and the early struggles of his acting career. Balancing family responsibilities with professional ambitions required sacrifice and perseverance. Despite their shared commitment, pressures of ambition and financial strain eventually led to their divorce in 1958. Nevertheless, the period left an enduring legacy of love, responsibility, and growth, shaping Van Cleef as a man capable of portraying profound human emotion with subtlety and depth on screen. Health challenges and persistence. From the 1970s onward, Van Cleef lived with serious heart disease, yet he continued working without compromise. A pacemaker installed in the 1980s allowed him to maintain a rigorous acting schedule despite declining health. These physical challenges never diminished his intensity or screen presence. Even in his later years, Van Cleef's performances retained the razor-sharp focus and magnetic authority that defined his career. His perseverance, despite illness, reflected the same quiet resilience he had shown throughout his life, reinforcing the connection between his personal fortitude and the unforgettable characters he brought to the screen. Later roles and enduring legacy. Van Cleef continued working into his later years, embracing roles that suited his experience and commanding presence. He brought depth, intelligence, and gravitas to each character, leaving a lasting impression on audiences. His ability to inhabit morally complex roles distinguished him from contemporaries and ensured his performances remained memorable. Even minor appearances were elevated by his skill and professionalism. This enduring dedication reflected a profound respect for the craft, proving that Van Cleef was more than a star of the Western genre. He was an actor who continually sought to elevate his art and challenge audiences with authenticity and intensity. Death and remembrance. Lee Van Cleef passed away on December 16, 1989, in Oxnard, California, following a heart attack. Throat cancer was listed as a secondary cause of death, highlighting the physical struggles that marked his final years. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in the Hollywood Hills, a fitting tribute to an actor deeply embedded in cinematic history. Etched on his gravestone are the words, "Best of the Bad," honoring his unforgettable portrayals of complex villains and anti-heroes. Even in death, Van Cleef's legacy remains a testament to endurance, artistry, and the quiet power of a disciplined life devoted to craft. Conclusion: the legacy of Lee Van Cleef. Lee Van Cleef's journey from the hardships of the Great Depression to international stardom embodies resilience, integrity, and enduring talent. His career, marked by persistence and dedication, redefined villainy and moral ambiguity on screen. He approached acting as a craft, elevating every role with depth, subtlety, and authenticity. Even amidst health challenges, Mr. Van Cleef remained committed to performance, leaving a lasting impression on audiences worldwide. Today he stands as an enduring figure of classic cinema, an artist whose quiet strength, moral complexity, and commanding presence continue to inspire and captivate those who experience the unforgettable legacy he created.